Hello, my name is Kayla Martinez. Today I will be reading Our American Family. I Am African American by Ruth Turk. I chose this book because I'm African American and my mom always read it to me when I was younger. It's just to give me a little bit of insight through a kid's eyes about my culture. So let's begin. This is my family. My name is Jessie. I am an African American. I live in a part of New York City called Queens. I am in the 4th grade. My father works as a lawyer and my mother is a music teacher. My parents tell me stories about my ancestors, such as my great-great-great-grandparents. They came to this country from Africa. My great-great-grandparents were slaves. They worked on a plantation in South Carolina. Africa. Africa is a huge continent. It is made up of 40 countries with dry deserts, wet rainforests, and busy cities. Some Africans live in homes on the plains or in the forests. Others live in houses or large buildings in the cities. Many Africans belong to different groups or peoples. Each people has its own language and customs. African peoples have rich traditions of art, religion, and music. Many of their ideas have spread all over the world. Slavery. Beginning in the 1700s, many Africans were brought to America against their will and sold as slaves. Many of them worked on plantations in the South. Slaves were considered the property of the people who bought and sold them. They were often beaten and forced to work long hours with little rest or food. Many slaves escaped. Others were helped by people who wanted to abolish slavery. My great-great-grandparents escaped on a boat going to New York where slavery had already been abolished. Harriet Tubman. My mother taught me about Harriet Tubman. She was a slave on a plantation in Maryland. She worked in the fields from sunrise to sunset. Her owner was very mean to her and the other slaves. But Harriet escaped from the plantation in 1849 on the Underground Railroad. This was a network of people who helped slaves along an escape route from the south to the north. Harriet returned to the south many times as part of the Underground Railroad to help other slaves. She led more than 300 slaves to freedom. Martin Luther King Jr. Until the late 1960s, Black and white people were separated by law. They couldn't share the same buses, restaurants, or even the same public water fountains. This separation was called segregation. African Americans were treated as second-class citizens. Like many others, Martin Luther King Jr. knew that this racism was wrong. He fought for equal rights. By 1965, laws were passed stating that everyone is equal. My family admires Martin Luther King Jr. very much. Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is an African American holiday that was started in 1966 by a teacher named Maulana Karenga. It falls on December 26th each year and lasts for 7 days. Kwanzaa celebrates the peoples of Africa, honors our past, and reminds us of our present and future in this world. The family is also very important during Kwanzaa. My family and I decorate the house in black, green, yellow, and red, the colors that symbolize Africa. Our family members give each other gifts. On the last day of Kwanzaa, we don't eat until sunset. Then we have a big meal together. Traditional clothing. On special occasions, some African Americans wear traditional African clothes. During Kwanzaa, my mother wears a baba. Other women might braid their hair in cornrows. My father wears a dashiki or a long shirt. Men also wear kofis on their heads and beads around their necks. For my birthday, my parents gave me a shirt made of kente cloth Kente is a beautiful material from the country of Ghana in Africa. Soul food. As slaves, my great-great-great-grandparents did not have a lot of food to eat. So they used spices and their knowledge of African cooking to make new dishes called soul food. Today, when our family eats together, we eat some of the same foods that my ancestors did, such as cornbread, black-eyed peas, and corn pone. Corn pone? My mom says she remembers eating soul food at her grandparents' house. She has taught me how to make some of my favorite dishes. Sharing our music. Using African rhythms, African Americans invented new kinds of music. They include jazz, spiritual, gospel, soul, blues, and rock and roll music. These are now enjoyed all over the world. There are hundreds of famous African American musicians. Today, singers like Whitney Houston use African American music forms in their modern music. Rap is also another form of music that has roots in Africa, as in African and African American culture. I am proud. My parents go to work and I go to school, but we always find the time to eat dinner together. Sometimes we talk about our ancestors and the days of slavery. After dinner, we might look at family pictures in our big photo album. I want to learn more about where my great-great-great-grandparents come from. Last year, my cousin traveled to Mali, a country in West Africa. She said she might someday take me to another country called Kenya in East Africa. I hope I get to go. Finishes with the glossary and then index.